The evening passed in a surreal blur. Jinwoo stayed for dinner, ramen that Zuri insisted on helping cook, which resulted in noodles on the floor and both children giggling hysterically. He'd rolled up his sleeves, his expensive shirt getting splattered with broth, and hadn't complained once. Chisholm watched him navigate bath time with the twins, Zuri splashing water everywhere while Kai solemnly explained the proper way to make bubble beards. Jinwoo listened with absolute seriousness, nodding along, and when Zuri dumped a cup of water on his head, he just laughed. He's a natural, Chisholm thought, her chest tight. He would have been such a good father from the beginning. Amma, is Appa going to read us our story? Kai asked as she helped him into his pajamas. Appa. Both twins had switched to calling him that as if he'd always been part of their lives. The ease of it was both beautiful and terrifying. If he wants to, Chisholm said carefully. I'd love to, Jinwoo confirmed from the doorway. His shirt was still damp from bath time. His hair must where Zuri had grabbed it. He looked happy in a way Chisholm had never seen. Not even 6 years ago when they'd been in love. They all crowded onto Zuri's bed, the twins in the middle, Chisholm and Jinwoo on either side. Jinwoo read their current favorite book in halting Korean and English, stumbling over some of the Igbo words until Chisholm helped him with pronunciation. The twins corrected him with 5-year-old authority, and he accepted their corrections with grace. Halfway through, Zuri fell asleep with her head on Jinwoo's chest. Kai lasted until the end, then yawned hugely. Appa, will you be here tomorrow when we wake up? Kai asked sleepily. Jinwoo looked at Chisholm, uncertain. She gave a small shake of her head. Not yet. Too soon. Not tomorrow morning, Jinwoo said gently. But I'll see you tomorrow after school. How does that sound? Okay, Kai mumbled. Already half asleep, they carefully extracted themselves from the bed, Jinwoo moving with surprising care not to wake the children. In the living room, the sudden silence felt heavy. Thank you, Jinwoo said quietly, for letting me stay, for letting me meet them properly. They're your children too, Chisholm said, wrapping her arms around herself. You had a right to know them. Still, I know this is complicated. Jinwoo moved closer. Chisholm, about what I said earlier. Don't. Chisholm held up a hand. Please, this is already overwhelming. Let's just focus on the twins for now. You can't compartmentalize forever, Jinwoo said softly. Eventually, we'll have to talk about us. There is no us, Chisholm said, but her voice lacked conviction. There's co-parenting. There's figuring out custody arrangements. But us? Jinwoo, you're engaged. Not for long. He pulled out his phone, showing her a text conversation with Minji. Minji, is everything okay? You missed our meeting. Jinwoo, something came up. I'm sorry. We need to talk. Tomorrow? Minji, I actually need to talk to you too. 2 p.m. at my gallery? Jinwoo, I'll be there. What are you going to tell her? Chisholm asked. The truth. That I have children. That I'm in love with their mother. That I can't marry her when my heart belongs to someone else. Jinwoo, I know you're scared, he interrupted. I know I hurt you before. But Chisholm, finding out about the twins, spending this evening with them, with you, it's made me realize what an idiot I was 6 years ago. I should have fought harder. I should have chosen you. You did choose, Chisholm said quietly. You chose your family, your duty. You made the rational choice. And I've regretted it every single day since. They stood there, the space between them charged with 6 years of longing and hurt. Jinwoo reached out slowly, giving Chisholm time to pull away. When she didn't, he cupped her face gently. Let me prove it to you, he whispered. Let me show you that I'm not that scared 25-year-old anymore. Let me be the man you and our children deserve. Chisholm's breath hitched. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly. But before she could respond, her phone rang shrilly, shattering the moment. Jinwoo's mother's number flashed on the screen. They both stared at it. Don't answer, Jinwoo said immediately. She'll just keep calling. Chisholm took a steadying breath and answered. Mrs. Park. Ms. Nwosu. Park Hyun-suk's voice was cold, controlled. I believe we need to have a conversation. If this is about my son's illegitimate children? Yes, that's exactly what this is about. Jin-woo moved closer, trying to hear the conversation. They're not illegitimate, Chisholm said firmly. They're your grandchildren. A sharp intake of breath on the other end. You will not claim. I'm not claiming anything, Chisholm interrupted. Jin-woo knows about them now. That's his decision to make, not yours. Everything involving the Park family is my business, Mrs. Park said icily. How much? Excuse me? How much money do you want this time? To disappear again? To take those children somewhere they won't embarrass this family? Fury flooded through Chisholm. My children are not an embarrassment. And I'm not going anywhere. Then I'll have my lawyers. Jin-woo grabbed the phone. Iyama, it's me. Silence. Then Jin-wooya, you need to come home. Now, we need to discuss this rationally. There's nothing to discuss, Jin-woo said, his voice hard. I have 2 children. I'm going to be in their lives. That's not negotiable. You're engaged to be married in 3 months. Do you have any idea what this scandal will do to our family? To the company? I don't care. You don't care. His mother's voice rose, control slipping. Everything your grandfather built, everything this family has worked for, is not more important than my children, Jin-woo finished. I'm sorry, Iyama, but this time you don't get to make my choices for me. If you pursue this, there will be consequences. Then I'll deal with them. Jin-woo hung up and immediately turned off his phone. His hands were shaking. She's going to make this difficult, Chisholm said quietly. Let her try. Jin-woo's jaw was set. I'm done being controlled by her. But Chisholm knew better. Park Hyun-suk had spent 6 years building Jin-woo's engagement, positioning Min-ji as the perfect daughter-in-law, aligning business interests between the families. She wouldn't let go without a fight. You should go, Chisholm said, before your mother shows up here. I'm not leaving you to face her alone. Jin-woo, this is my home. My children are sleeping in the next room. I'm not having a confrontation with your mother at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. Chisholm moved toward the door. Go talk to your family. Figure out your situation with Min-ji. Then we'll make a plan. When can I see the twins again? Jin-woo asked, following her reluctantly. Tomorrow after school? I'll text you when I'm picking them up. Jin-woo nodded, then hesitated at the door. Chisholm, about what I said earlier, I know. She cut him off gently. But right now, let's just focus on being good parents. Everything else can wait. He looked like he wanted to argue but nodded instead. Okay, for now. After he left, Chisholm locked the door and leaned against it, her legs suddenly weak. The evening had been surreal. Watching Jin-woo with their children, seeing him light up with every small interaction, feeling her carefully constructed walls crumbling. Her phone buzzed with a video call from Adana. Chisholm answered, immediately bursting into tears. Hey, Adana said soothingly. Tell me everything. Chisholm poured it all out. The accidental meeting in the park, telling the twins, Jin-woo staying for dinner, his mother's threatening call. So he knows they know, and his mother is probably plotting your demise as we speak. Adana summarized. How are you holding up? I don't know. Chisholm wiped her face. Ada, what if I've made everything worse? What if bringing them back here just causes more pain? Or, Adana countered, what if this is the beginning of something beautiful? Chisholm, he stayed for bath time. He read bedtime stories. That's not a man doing his duty. That's a man in love with his children. But his family will get over it or won't. That's their problem. Adana leaned closer to the camera. You've spent 6 years protecting everyone else. Your children from rejection, Jin-woo from difficult choices, his family from embarrassment. Maybe it's time to let them all be uncomfortable for once. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You're just usually too stubborn to listen. Adana smiled. Now go to sleep. Tomorrow is going to be intense. After they hung up, Chisholm checked on the twins one more time. They were sprawled across their beds, completely unconscious, dreaming whatever 5-year-olds dreamed about. Tomorrow, their lives would change irrevocably. Jinwoo would become a real presence, not just a story their mother told. The Park family would try to interfere. The media might catch wind of the story. But tonight, they were safe, happy, and loved. That would have to be enough. Across Seoul, Jinwoo drove home in a daze, his mind replaying the evening on a loop. Zuri's laugh, Kai's serious questions, Chisholm watching him with those guarded eyes, wanting to trust but afraid. I have children. I'm a father. The reality kept hitting him in waves. He'd missed so much. First steps, first words, 5 years of bedtimes and scraped knees and little triumphs. But he was here now. That had to count for something. The Park family estate loomed before him, all traditional elegance and suffocating expectations. Jinwoo sat in his car for a long moment, gathering strength. Then he walked inside. His parents were waiting in the formal living room, his mother rigid on the sofa, his father standing by the window. The tension was palpable. "Sit down," his mother commanded. "I'll stand." Jinwoo crossed his arms. "I know you're upset, but..." "Upset?" His mother stood, her composure finally cracking. "You have illegitimate children with that woman, and you think I'm merely upset?" "Her name is Chisholm," Jinwoo said quietly, "and they're not illegitimate. They're mine. You were 25, a foolish boy in love with the wrong woman." His mother's voice rose. "I paid her to leave precisely to prevent this kind of scandal. You had no right. I had every right. I'm your mother. It's my job to protect you from mistakes. My children are not mistakes." Jinwoo's shout echoed through the room. "They're perfect. They're mine. And I'm going to be in their lives whether you approve or not." His mother flinched at his tone. Jinwoo had never shouted at her before, never directly defied her. "The engagement," she said, forcing calm. "Minji's family has already sent the wedding invitations. The venue is booked. The merger with the Kong Group will survive or it won't." Jinwoo interrupted. "I'm not marrying Minji. You're throwing away everything for a woman who took your money and ran? She took your money because she thought it was what I wanted." Jinwoo's voice broke. "She left because I was too much of a coward to stand up to you, to choose her over your expectations. But I'm not that person anymore." "Jinwoo." His father spoke for the first time, his voice measured. "Think about this rationally. You have responsibilities. The company, the family name." "I am thinking rationally," Jinwoo said. "For the first time in 6 years. I have children, Appa. Your grandchildren. They exist. They're here in Seoul. And I'm not going to abandon them the way I abandoned their mother." His mother made a strangled sound. "If you do this, there will be consequences. Your position in the company..." "Take it," Jinwoo said flatly. Both parents stared at him. "Take my position, my title, my inheritance. I don't care anymore." Jinwoo's voice was calm now, certain. "I've spent 31 years living for this family, for this legacy. I lost the woman I loved because of it. I missed 5 years of my children's lives because of it. I'm done." "You're being emotional," his father said. "Sleep on this in the morning." "In the morning, I'm going to meet with Minji and end our engagement," Jinwoo said. "Then I'm going to figure out how to be a proper father to my children. And if that means I'm disowned, so be it." He turned to leave. "Jinwoo-ya." His mother's voice stopped him. It was quieter now, almost pleading. "You'll regret this." Jinwoo looked back at her. "The only thing I regret is not doing this 6 years ago." He left without waiting for a response, walking to his childhood bedroom and closing the door. His phone was still off, but he pulled out a photo he'd snapped earlier when the twins weren't looking. Kai and Zuri side by side on the park bench, ice cream covered and grinning. His children, his family. Tomorrow he'd start building the life he should have fought for 6 years ago. And this time no one, not his mother, not tradition, not fear, would stop him. The next morning arrived too quickly. Chisholm woke to the twins jumping on her bed at 6 a.m., full of energy and questions. "Is Appa coming for breakfast?" Zuri asked. Can we video call him? Kai wanted to know. He's probably busy with work, Chisholm hedged, making breakfast. But you'll see him this afternoon. Why can't he live with us? Zuri pressed. If he's our appa, shouldn't we all be together? How do you explain adult complications to 5-year-olds? Grown-ups sometimes live in different places, Chisholm said carefully. But that doesn't mean he loves you any less. Kai, ever analytical, wasn't satisfied. But you said you and Appa used to be friends. Why aren't you friends anymore? It's complicated, baby. That's what grown-ups always say when they don't want to explain, Kai observed. Too smart for his own good, Chisholm thought. After dropping the twins at school, where they immediately told Mississippi Park about meeting their father, earning Chisholm a curious look, Chisholm headed to her office. Her company was temporarily set up in a co-working space in Gangnam, and she had 3 meetings scheduled. But she couldn't focus. Her mind kept drifting to Jinwoo, to his meeting with Minji, to what his family might be planning. At 2:15 p.m., her phone buzzed. Jinwoo, it's done. I ended the engagement. Can we talk, please? Chisholm stared at the message, her heart racing. He'd actually done it. He'd ended his engagement. Before she could respond, another text arrived. Minji was incredibly understanding. I'll explain everything when I see you. What time should I pick up the twins? Chisholm typed back. School ends at 3:30. Meet me there? I'll be there. The afternoon crawled by. Chisholm tried to focus on work, on the contracts James kept sending her to review, but her mind was elsewhere. At 3:15, she gave up and headed to the school. Jinwoo was already there, leaning against his car. A sleek black sedan that screamed wealth. He'd changed from his business suit into jeans and a sweater, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. You're early, Chisholm observed. I was nervous, Jinwoo admitted. What if they changed their minds overnight? What if they decided they didn't want me around? They asked about you approximately 40 times this morning, Chisholm said wryly. I think you're safe. Jinwoo's face lit up. Really? Before Chisholm could answer, the school doors burst open and children streamed out. Zuri spotted Jinwoo immediately and ran full speed toward him, her backpack bouncing. Appa, you came. Jinwoo caught her as she launched herself at him, spinning her around. Of course I came. I promised, didn't I? Kai approached more cautiously but with a shy smile. Hi, Appa. Hi, buddy. Jinwoo set Zuri down and knelt to Kai's level. How was school? Good. I built a robot in STEM class. A robot? That's amazing. Can you tell me about it? As Kai launched into a detailed explanation of gears and motors, Chisholm watched Jinwoo listen with complete attention. Other parents were staring, some recognized Park Jinwoo, others were just curious about the obviously biracial children with the Korean business mogul. Mississippi Park approached Chisholm. I didn't realize the children's father was in Seoul, she said carefully. They were very excited this morning. It's a recent development, Chisholm said. Mississippi Park smiled. They seem happy. That's what matters. But as Chisholm watched Jinwoo with the twins, she noticed a black car parked across the street. The windows were tinted, but she could feel someone watching them. Jinwoo, she said quietly. That car. He followed her gaze and his expression hardened. My mother's driver. She's having us watched? Probably gathering evidence for whatever she's planning. Jinwoo's jaw tightened. Ignore them. Let's take the kids somewhere fun. Where? There's a park near Namsan Tower. I used to go there as a kid. Jinwoo looked at her meaningfully. We went there once, remember? Chisholm remembered. Their first real date 6 years ago. They'd eaten tteokbokki from a street vendor and watched the sunset. The twins would love it, she said softly. They decided to take both cars. Chisholm didn't want the twins getting too comfortable with constant luxury. As they drove through Seoul, Chisholm's phone rang. Her sister. Ada, I can't really talk right now. Just checking in. Adana interrupted. How's it going? He ended his engagement. His mother is having us followed. And we're about to go to the park where we had our first date. Chisholm laughed shakily. So, normal Tuesday. He ended the engagement, Adana repeated. Chisholm, he's serious. I know. That's what scares me. Don't be scared. Be brave. Those kids deserve to see their parents happy. After hanging up, Chisholm caught Jinwoo's car in her rearview mirror. The twins were chattering in the back seat about their day, oblivious to the adult complications swirling around them. What am I doing? Chisholm thought. Am I really going to let him back in? Risk getting hurt again? But watching Zuri's excited face as they pulled up to the park, seeing Kai's rare smile when Jinwoo opened their car door, Chisholm knew she'd risk anything for her children's happiness, even her own heart. The park was beautiful in the late afternoon light, autumn leaves painting everything gold and red. The twins immediately ran for the playground while Chisholm and Jinwoo found a bench with a view of both the children and Namsan Tower in the distance. So, Chisholm said, tell me about Minji. Jinwoo took a deep breath. She was incredibly gracious. She said she'd always known I didn't love her. Not really. That must have been hard for her to say. There's more. Jinwoo turned to face Chisholm. Minji's been in love with someone else too. Her assistant, Sua. For years. Chisholm's eyes widened. Oh. She said we were both prisoners of expectation. That we were using each other as covers. Jinwoo smiled sadly. She actually thanked me for ending it. Said it gave her the courage to be honest about who she really is. Wow. She asked me to promise her something though. Jinwoo looked at Chisholm intently. She said I had to actually fight this time. Not let my family or society or fear make my choices. She said one of us should be brave enough to choose love. Chisholm's breath caught. Jinwoo, I know you're scared, he interrupted gently. I know I have to earn your trust back. But Chisholm, I meant what I said. I never stopped loving you. Not for one single day. Love wasn't enough 6 years ago, Chisholm said quietly. Because I wasn't brave enough to make it enough, Jinwoo countered. But I'm different now. Seeing the twins, realizing what I missed, what I almost lost forever, it changed something in me. People don't change that fast. Don't they? Jinwoo gestured to the twins. 24 hours ago, I didn't know I was a father. Now I can't imagine my life without them. That's how fast everything can change. Before Chisholm could respond, Zuri came running back. Appa, come see. There's a tree with a swing. They followed their daughter to an enormous oak tree with a rope swing hanging from its branches. Kai was already testing it cautiously. Push me, Zuri demanded, climbing on. Jinwoo pushed her gently, then higher when she shouted for more. Her laughter rang out across the park, pure joy. When it was Kai's turn, he asked Jinwoo to teach him how to pump his legs to swing himself. Chisholm watched them together, father and son. Their heads bent close as Jinwoo explained the physics of momentum in 5-year-old terms. The resemblance was striking in the golden light. They had the same profile, the same serious expression when concentrating. They're so much like you, Chisholm said when Jinwoo returned to the bench. Sometimes it's almost eerie. Zuri has your fearlessness, Jinwoo countered. And Kai has your kindness. They're perfect combinations of both of us. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching their children play. My mother called this morning, Jinwoo said eventually. 3 times. I haven't answered. You can't avoid her forever. I can try. Jinwoo's expression darkened. She threatened to disinherit me, to remove me from the company, to make sure the Kong family sues us for breach of contract. Chisholm's stomach dropped. Jinwoo, maybe we should slow down. No. His voice was firm. That's what she wants. For me to get scared and back down. But I meant what I said last night. My children are more important than money or legacy or any of it. But your work, your life. My life is wherever they are, Jinwoo said, looking at the twins. And wherever you are, if you'll let me. This is happening so fast, Chisholm whispered. Yesterday morning, you didn't know they existed. Now you're ready to give up everything. Not give up. Choose. Jinwoo took her hand carefully. I'm choosing them. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing the life I should have chosen 6 years ago. Chisholm looked down at their joined hands. His touch still sent electricity through her, still made her heart race. I can't promise you anything, she said honestly. I can't promise my feelings will just come back, that I'll be able to trust you completely, that… I'm not asking for promises, Jinwoo interrupted gently. I'm asking for a chance. Let me prove I've changed. Let me show you I can be the man you and our children deserve. Amma, Appa. Zuri's shout interrupted them. Come swing with us. They looked at each other, a silent question passing between them. Then Chisholm nodded, and they walked hand in hand toward their children. For the next hour, they were just a family at a park. Jinwoo pushed the swing until the twins begged for mercy. They collected pretty leaves and made up stories about why each one was special. They bought hotteok from a street vendor, the sweet pancakes making the twins' eyes go wide with delight. When the sun started setting, painting Seoul in shades of orange and pink, they sat on a blanket Jinwoo had retrieved from his car. The twins were finally quiet, tired from running and playing. Tell us about when you were little, Appa, Kai requested, leaning against Jinwoo's side. Jinwoo looked surprised. When I was little? Did you come to this park? Zuri asked. I did, Jinwoo said. My Halmione, my grandmother, used to bring me here. She was the one person who always let me just be a kid, not the park heir. What's a heir? Kai asked. Someone who's supposed to take over the family business one day. Like a prince. Zuri's eyes went wide. Jinwoo laughed. Sort of, I guess. So we're like princesses and princes? Zuri was delighted by this idea. You're better than princes and princesses, Chisholm interjected. You're Zuri and Kai. That's more special than any title. As darkness fell, they packed up reluctantly. The twins were yawning, fighting sleep. Jinwoo carried Zuri to the car while Kai held Chisholm's hand. Appa's nice, Kai observed sleepily. I'm glad he knows about us now. Me too, baby, Chisholm whispered, her throat tight. At the apartment, Jinwoo helped carry the sleeping twins upstairs. They changed them into pajamas without waking them, a skill perfected by parents everywhere, and tucked them into bed. In the living room, the silence felt heavy again. Thank you for today, Jinwoo said, for letting me be part of it. They're your children too. You don't have to thank me. Still, Jinwoo moved closer. Chisholm, I know this is complicated. I know you have every reason not to trust me. But please, don't shut me out. Let me be part of their lives. Part of your life. Chisholm looked up at him, seeing the man she'd fallen in love with 6 years ago, but also someone new. Someone who'd faced his fears, who'd chosen differently. We'll take it slow, she said finally. See them regularly, figure out a schedule. But Jinwoo, I need you to understand. I'm not that girl anymore. I won't just fit myself into your world. If you want to be in their lives, in our lives, you have to meet us where we are. I will, Jinwoo promised. Wherever you are, that's where I want to be. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he kissed her forehead gently, reverently. I should go, he whispered. But I'll text you tomorrow? We can figure out when I can see them next. Okay. At the door, Jinwoo paused. Chisholm, thank you for coming back, for giving me this chance, for our children. After he left, Chisholm stood at the window, watching his taillights disappear into Seoul's evening traffic. Her phone buzzed. A message from Jinwoo. I meant every word. I'm not going anywhere this time. Then another message appeared, from an unknown number. We need to talk. I'm not the enemy you think I am. Park Hyun-suk. Chisholm stared at that message for a long time. Jinwoo's mother wanting to talk? That couldn't mean anything good. But before she could decide whether to respond, her phone rang. James from work. Chisholm, we have a problem, he said without preamble. Park Industries just pulled the contract. No explanation, just a terse email saying they're going in a different direction. Chisholm's blood ran cold. When? 20 minutes ago. I've been trying to reach Park Jinwoo, but his office says he's unavailable. I'll handle it, Chisholm said, her mind racing. Do you know what this is about? We were so close to signing. I said I'll handle it. Chisholm hung up and immediately called Jinwoo. He answered on the first ring. Chisholm? Is everything okay? Your mother just killed our contract with Park Industries. Silence. Then fuck. I'm sorry. I should have anticipated. Is this how it's going to be? Chisholm asked, her voice tight. Every time we don't do what she wants, she punishes us professionally? I'll fix this. I'll talk to her. No. Chisholm's voice was firm. I'll talk to her. This is between me and her now. Chisholm, you don't understand how ruthless she can be. I understand perfectly, Chisholm interrupted. She paid me to leave 6 years ago. She's having us followed. Now she's sabotaging my business. I get it, Jinwoo. But I'm not that scared girl anymore. If she wants a fight, she'll get one. Let me help. You help by being there for our children. By proving you're different this time. I'll handle your mother. Chisholm hung up before Jinwoo could argue, her hands shaking with anger and adrenaline. She pulled up the message from Park Hyun-suk and typed, Fine. Let's talk. When and where? The response came immediately, tomorrow, 10 a.m., Park Estate. Come alone. Chisholm replied, I'll be there. She was walking into the lion's den, confronting one of Seoul's most powerful women. But Chisholm had raised 2 children alone for 5 years, had built a business from nothing, had survived heartbreak and rebuilt herself stronger. Park Hyun-suk had no idea who she was dealing with now. The Park family estate sat in one of Seoul's most exclusive neighborhoods, where old money whispered rather than shouted. Traditional Hanok architecture blended seamlessly with modern security systems, and perfectly manicured gardens spoke of generations of careful cultivation. Chisholm stood at the gate at 9:55 a.m., her heart hammering against her ribs. You can do this, she told herself. You're not that girl anymore. She dressed carefully. A tailored burgundy suit that Adana had insisted made her look like she could conquer nations. Her braids were swept into an elegant bun. She wore minimal jewelry except for a small Ebo pendant her mother had given her. A reminder of where she came from, who she was. The gate opened automatically, and a stern-faced woman in traditional dress led her through immaculate gardens to the main house. Every step felt weighted with history, with expectations, with the ghost of the 22-year-old who'd sat in this very house 6 years ago and accepted money to disappear. Park Hyun-suk waited in a formal receiving room, seated on a cushion with perfect posture. She wore an elegant hanbok in pale gray, her hair styled immaculately. Everything about her screamed control, power, tradition. Ms. Nwosu, she said without preamble. Please sit. Chisholm sat across from her, refusing to show the nervousness churning in her stomach. Mrs. Park. They regarded each other in silence. 2 women who'd shaped Jinwoo's life in profoundly different ways. You look well, Mrs. Park observed. More confident than before. I've had 6 years to grow up, Chisholm replied evenly. 6 years in which you kept my grandchildren from me. 6 years in which you made it very clear I wasn't welcome in this family. Mrs. Park's expression didn't change. I offered you money to leave because I believed it was best for everyone. My son was young, impressionable. You were a distraction from his responsibilities. A distraction, Chisholm repeated, her voice hardening. That's what I was to you? Not a person, not someone your son loved. Just a distraction. Love fades, Mrs. Park said simply. Duty, legacy, family. These things endure. Is that why you sabotaged my business contract? Chisholm asked. To teach me a lesson about endurance? For the first time, something flickered in Mrs. Park's eyes. Surprise, perhaps, that Chisholm would confront her so directly. I'm protecting my family's interests, Mrs. Park said. Park Industries cannot be associated with scandal. Scandal? Chisholm laughed bitterly. Your grandchildren are a scandal? Illegitimate children with a woman who took money to leave? Yes, Ms. Nwosu. That is precisely the definition of scandal. Chisholm stood abruptly, her composure finally breaking. I am done with this. I came here in good faith, hoping we could find a way forward for the children's sake. But you're the same person who paid me to leave, who threatened me, who made me feel like I was worthless because I didn't fit your perfect vision. Sit down, Mrs. Park commanded. No. Chisholm's voice was steel. I'm not that scared girl anymore. You can sabotage my contracts, you can threaten me, you can try to turn Jinwoo against me. But you cannot take my children away, and you cannot make me disappear again. You think you have power here? Mrs. Park's voice rose slightly, control slipping. You're a foreign woman with no family connections, no? I'm the mother of your grandchildren, Chisholm interrupted. That gives me all the power I need. Silence fell like a hammer. Mrs. Park stared at Chisholm with an expression that might have been shock or might have been grudging respect. You have changed, Mrs. Park said finally. Yes, I have. Chisholm remained standing. And my children are not bargaining chips. They're not problems to be managed or scandals to be hidden. They're Zuri and Kai, and they're wonderful, and Jinwoo has a right to know them. If you can't accept that, then you'll be the one who misses out. And if I refuse to accept them, then you'll lose your son too, Chisholm said simply. Because Jinwoo isn't 25 anymore either. He's made his choice. The question is whether you're willing to destroy your relationship with him to maintain your pride. Mrs. Park looked away, her jaw tight. You don't understand our world. The pressures, the expectations. I understand that you're so focused on legacy that you're willing to sacrifice your son's happiness for it, Chisholm interrupted. I understand that you're afraid. Afraid of change. Afraid of what people will say. Afraid of losing control. I'm not afraid. You are, Chisholm said more gently. I was afraid too 6 years ago. So afraid of not being enough, of not fitting in, that I let you convince me to leave. But I'm not afraid anymore. And neither is Jinwoo. Before Mrs. Park could respond, the door slid open. Park Jinwoo's father entered, and behind him, Jinwoo himself. I told you to come alone, Mrs. Park said icily to Chisholm. She did, Jinwoo said, moving to stand beside Chisholm. I came because my assistant told me about this meeting. Did you really think I'd let you intimidate her again? This doesn't concern you. It concerns my children, Jinwoo said firmly. It concerns the woman I love. So yes, it very much concerns me. Mrs. Park stood, her composure cracking further. Jinwoo-ya, you're making a mistake. No, Iyama. Jinwoo's voice was gentle but unyielding. The mistake was letting you control my life 6 years ago. I'm not making that mistake again. Your father agrees with me, Mrs. Park said, gesturing to her husband. Tell him, Yobo. Tell him he's being foolish. Park Jinwoo's father looked at his son, then at Chisholm, then back to his wife. Actually, I disagree. The room went silent. What? Mrs. Park's voice was barely audible. I've been thinking about this since Jinwoo told us about the children, his father said quietly. About the choices we make, the regrets we carry. He looked at Mrs. Park with something like sadness. Do you remember Lee Mi-sun? Mrs. Park went very still. Who? Jinwoo asked. His father smiled sadly. Someone I loved many years ago, before I married your mother. Mi-sun was from a poor family, her father was a farmer. My parents forbade the relationship. I was told to marry appropriately, to think of the family legacy. He paused. So I did. I let her go. I married your mother. And I've spent 40 years wondering what my life might have been if I'd been brave enough to choose differently. Yobo, Mrs. Park's voice was strained. I've been a good husband, Jinwoo's father continued. We've built a successful partnership. But it's not the same as love, is it? And now you're asking our son to make the same sacrifice I made, to live with the same regrets. This is different, Mrs. Park protested. How? His father's question hung in the air. Because the woman is African? Because there are children? Those things make it more important that Jinwoo chooses correctly, not less. He turned to Jinwoo. I should have supported you 6 years ago. I should have stood up to your mother, helped you fight for what you wanted. I was a coward and you paid the price. But I'm not going to be a coward anymore. Jinwoo's eyes filled with tears. Appa, those children are my grandchildren, his father said firmly. I want to know them. And this woman, he nodded respectfully at Chisholm, raised them alone while we were here protecting our precious reputation. She deserves our gratitude, not our judgment. Mrs. Park looked between her husband and son, something crumbling in her carefully maintained facade. You're both choosing her over me. No, Jin-woo said gently. We're choosing love over fear. We're choosing family over reputation. We're asking you to choose with us. And if I can't? Mrs. Park's voice broke slightly. Then you'll miss out on knowing two incredible children, Jin-woo said. You'll lose your son, and you'll have to live with that choice. Mrs. Park sank back onto her cushion, suddenly looking older, more fragile. For a long moment no one spoke. Then, quietly, what are their names? Everyone turned to stare at Mrs. Park. Your children, she said, looking at Jin-woo. What are their names? Zuri and Kai, Jin-woo said softly. Zuri's fearless and creative. Kai's thoughtful and kind. They're 5 years old, and they're perfect. Park Zuri and Park Kai? Mrs. Park asked. Park Nwosu, Chisholm corrected. They have both our names. Both our heritages. Mrs. Park nodded slowly, processing. I want to meet them. Chisholm exchanged a look with Jin-woo. That can be arranged. But Mrs. Park, I need you to understand. They're children. If you meet them, you can't judge them, you can't make them feel unwelcome because of who their mother is. They deserve better than that. I understand, Mrs. Park said, though her voice was stiff. And you need to restore our business contract, Chisholm added firmly. My company earned that deal on merit. Punishing my business because you're angry with me isn't acceptable. Mrs. Park looked like she wanted to argue, but her husband spoke first. She's right, Yobo. The contract should be reinstated. After a long pause, Mrs. Park nodded. Fine. I'll have my assistant handle it today. Thank you, Chisholm said, though the words felt strange in her mouth. Jin-woo reached for Chisholm's hand. We should go. I need to pick up the twins from school. Together? Mrs. Park asked, something unreadable in her expression. Yes, Jin-woo said simply. Together. As they walked out, Jin-woo's father followed them to the gate. Ms. Nwosu, he said quietly. Thank you. For what? Chisholm asked. For being brave enough to come back. For giving Jin-woo a second chance. For raising those children into people we'll be proud to know. He smiled sadly. You did what I couldn't do. You chose love even when it was difficult. It wasn't really a choice, Chisholm said. The twins deserved to know their father. Still, it took courage. He bowed slightly. I hope you'll allow me to be part of their lives as well. I promise to do better than I did with my own son. After he left, Jin-woo and Chisholm stood by their cars in silence. Your father, Chisholm started. I had no idea, Jin-woo said, his voice rough. About Lee Mi-sun, about his regrets. He never said anything. Maybe he was waiting for the right moment. He basically told my mother their whole marriage was a compromise. Jin-woo ran his hands through his hair. God, what a mess. But he stood up for us, Chisholm pointed out. That took courage. Jin-woo looked at her. You were incredible in there. The way you stood up to my mother. I've never seen anyone do that. I've had 6 years to prepare that speech, Chisholm said wryly. Still, Jin-woo moved closer. Chisholm, I know you said to take things slow, but after today, after everything, can I take you to dinner? A real date? Just the two of us? Jin-woo, please, just one dinner. Let me show you I'm serious about this. About us. Chisholm wanted to say no, to keep her walls up, to protect herself. But looking at Jin-woo, who'd rushed to her side when he thought his mother might hurt her, who'd stood up to his family, who'd spent every spare moment with their children, she found herself nodding. One dinner, she agreed. But we're splitting the bill. Jin-woo laughed, relief flooding his face. Deal. Friday night. Friday night, Chisholm confirmed. They drove separately to pick up the twins, but Chisholm couldn't stop thinking about Jin-woo's father's story, about love and regret, about the choices that shaped entire lives. Am I brave enough to choose love again? She wondered. Am I brave enough to risk it? The rest of the week passed in a blur. Jinwoo saw the twins every day after school, and slowly, they were becoming a unit. He learned Kai's favorite bedtime story and Zuri's very specific requirements for how her sandwiches should be cut. He came to Chisholm's apartment for dinner most nights, helping with homework and bath time. Felt domestic. Felt right. Terrified Chisholm. On Friday morning, James called with good news. The Park Industries contract is back on. Better terms than before, actually. Whatever you said to them worked. That's great, Chisholm said, relief flooding through her. There's more. Park Jinwoo specifically requested that you lead the account personally. He says he trusts your expertise. James paused. Chisholm, is there something going on I should know about? It's complicated, Chisholm hedged. It always is with you, James laughed. But seriously, great work. This contract could make our Seoul office incredibly successful. After hanging up, Chisholm allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. She'd stood up to Park Hyun-suk and won. She'd protected her business, her children, her dignity. Maybe I really am different now, she thought. That evening, Adana video called just as Chisholm was getting ready for dinner. Tell me everything, Adana demanded. And why are you wearing that dress? The one you said you were saving for something special? Chisholm looked down at the emerald green dress that hugged her curves perfectly. Jinwoo and I are having dinner. Just dinner, she added quickly at Adana's expression. Just dinner, Adana repeated skeptically. In your sexy dress. Sure. It's not sexy. It's absolutely sexy. Where are the twins? Jinwoo's father offered to watch them, Chisholm admitted. He's been surprisingly wonderful, actually. He wants to get to know them. So Jinwoo's dad is babysitting while you go on a date with Jinwoo. Do you hear yourself? It's not a date. It's absolutely a date. Adana leaned closer to the camera. Chisholm, it's okay to let yourself be happy. It's okay to trust him again. What if he hurts me again? What if he doesn't? Adana countered. What if you're both different people now who can make it work? After they hung up, Chisholm checked on the twins. They were remarkably excited about going to Harabiaji's house. They'd already started calling Jinwoo's father grandfather. Will there be other kids there? Zuri asked as Chisholm helped her into her jacket. No, baby. Just you and Kai and Harabiaji. What about Halmiani? Kai asked. Chisholm hesitated. Mrs. Park had kept her distance since their confrontation, and Chisholm wasn't sure if she'd be at the house tonight. I don't know, sweetness. Maybe. The doorbell rang. Jinwoo's father had insisted on picking up the twins himself, wanting to give Jinwoo and Chisholm privacy. When Chisholm opened the door, Park Jinwoo's father stood there with a warm smile, so different from his wife's cold demeanor. Ms. Nwosu, are these the famous grandchildren I've been hearing about? Zuri, never shy, bounded forward. Are you Harabiaji? I am. He knelt to her level. And you must be Zuri. Your appa told me you're very brave. I am brave, Zuri confirmed. Want to see me do a cartwheel? Maybe at the house, Chisholm intervened. Where there's more space. Kai approached more cautiously. Hello, Harabiaji. Hello, Kai. I heard you like building things. I saved all your appa's old Legos. Would you like to see them? Kai's eyes lit up. Really? As the twins gathered their overnight bags, they'd be sleeping at their grandfather's house. Another first. Chisholm pulled Jinwoo's father aside. Thank you for doing this, she said quietly. I know it's a lot. It's not enough, he interrupted gently. I've missed 5 years. I won't miss any more. He paused. My wife may be there tonight. She's trying, Ms. Nwosu. In her own way. I understand. Do you? He looked at her intently. She spent 60 years building walls around her heart. It takes time to tear them down. After they left, Zuri chattering excitedly while Kai held his grandfather's hand. Chisholm stood in her suddenly quiet apartment and took a deep breath. I can do this. It's just dinner. Just one dinner. But as she applied her lipstick and grabbed her purse, she knew it was so much more than that. Jinwoo had chosen a small, intimate restaurant in Itaewon, not one of Seoul's flashy places where they'd be photographed, but a hidden gem known only to locals. When Chisholm arrived, he was already there, wearing dark jeans and a button-down that made him look younger, less like a CEO and more like the man she'd fallen in love with. "You look beautiful," he said, standing as she approached. "That dress is wow. You clean up pretty well yourself," Chisholm said, trying to calm her racing heart. They ordered. Jin-woo remembered her favorite dishes from 6 years ago, which touched her more than she wanted to admit. As they waited for food, awkward silence stretched between them. "How are you feeling?" Jin-woo asked finally. "About the twins staying with my father?" "Nervous," Chisholm admitted. "It's the first time I've left them overnight with anyone who isn't family." "My father is family now," Jin-woo said gently, "and I promise he'll take good care of them. He's been researching child psychology books all week, asking me questions about their routines." Chisholm laughed despite herself. "Really? Really? He's taking this very seriously." Jin-woo's expression softened. "He wants to be the grandfather he wasn't able to be as a father. His own dad was very strict, very distant. He's trying to break that cycle. That's actually really beautiful. He told me about me son," Jin-woo said quietly, "about how he spent 40 years wondering what if. He doesn't want me to have those same regrets." "And your mother?" Jin-woo sighed. "She's struggling. Change is hard for her. But my father thinks she'll come around eventually." Their food arrived, and for a while they ate in comfortable silence. Then Jin-woo said, "Tell me about Lagos, about your life there. I want to know everything I missed." So Chisholm told him about the pregnancy, terrifying and exhilarating, about her sister Adana helping her through labor, holding her hand through 20 hours of contractions, about the first time she'd held the twins, one in each arm, and thought, "I can do this. I can do anything for them." She told him about sleepless nights and first steps, about Zuri's fearless first dive into a pool and Kai's quiet intensity even as a baby, about building her business from her living room while the twins napped, about the clients who'd taken a chance on her, about slowly building something she could be proud of. "You're amazing," Jin-woo said when she finished. "I mean it, Chisholm. What you've accomplished alone." "I wasn't completely alone," Chisholm corrected. "My family helped. My friends. The twins' daycare teachers who became like aunties. It takes a village. Still, you could have asked me for help. Even after everything, I would have helped." "I know," Chisholm said softly. "But I needed to prove I could do it myself. Does that make sense?" "Completely." They talked for hours about his work, about the company, about how he'd thrown himself into business after she left, trying to fill the void, about Min-ji and their strange friendship, how they'd both been using each other as shields against family pressure. "She's seeing Sua officially now," Jin-woo said. "Her parents are horrified, but she doesn't care anymore. She said watching me choose you gave her courage to choose happiness too." "I'm glad," Chisholm said. "Everyone deserves to be loved for who they really are. Even me?" Jin-woo asked quietly. Chisholm met his eyes. "Especially you." The vulnerability in Jin-woo's expression made her chest ache. "I know I don't deserve another chance," he said. "I know I hurt you, that I let you down when you needed me most. But Chisholm, I swear, I'm not that person anymore. I'll prove it to you every single day if you let me." "Jin-woo, I'm not asking you to decide tonight," he interrupted. "I'm just asking you to keep the door open, to let me show you that I've changed, that we could be good together." Chisholm wanted to protect herself, to keep her walls up. But looking at Jin-woo, seeing the sincerity in his eyes, remembering how he'd stood up to his mother for her, how he'd been with the twins every single day, she felt those walls cracking. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I'm scared of getting hurt again. I'm scared of the twins getting attached and then you realizing this is too hard. I'm scared." Jin-woo reached across the table, taking her hand. "I'm scared too. I'm terrified of messing this up, of not being the father they deserve, of losing you again. But Chisholm, I think the scared feeling means it matters, means it's worth fighting for." They sat like that, Hands joined across the table, years of hurt and hope flowing between them. "One day at a time," Chisholm said finally. "We take this one day at a time." "I can do one day at a time," Jinwoo agreed. "As long as there's a tomorrow." After dinner, Jinwoo walked her to her car. Seoul was alive around them. Neon signs reflecting in puddles, couples walking hand in hand, the city's endless energy. "Thank you for tonight," Jinwoo said at her car. "For giving me this chance. Thank you for being patient, for not pushing." They stood close, the space between them charged with possibility. Jinwoo lifted his hands slowly, cupping Chisholm's face. "Can I kiss you?" he whispered. Chisholm's breath caught. She should say no. She should protect her heart. She should... "Yes," she breathed. Jinwoo kissed her softly, reverently, like she was something precious he'd thought he'd lost forever. Chisholm melted into it, her hands finding his chest, feeling his heart racing as fast as hers. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless. "I've missed you," Jinwoo whispered against her forehead. "Every day for 6 years. I've missed you." "I missed you too," Chisholm admitted. "Even when I was angry. Even when I told myself I was over you." They kissed again, deeper this time, years of longing pouring into it. When they finally separated, both were smiling. "I should go," Chisholm said reluctantly. "Check on the twins. My father sent me approximately 15 photos in the last hour." Jinwoo showed her his phone. "They're having a great time." The photos showed the twins building an elaborate Lego city with their grandfather, all 3 of them grinning. In the last photo, Mrs. Park was visible in the background, watching with an unreadable expression. "Your mother was there," Chisholm observed. "She's trying," Jinwoo said, "in her own way." As Chisholm drove home, her lips still tingling from Jinwoo's kisses, her phone rang. Jinwoo's father. "Ms. Nwosu, everything is fine," he said immediately. "But I thought you should know. My wife asked to read the twins their bedtime story tonight." Chisholm's eyes widened. She did. And Chisholm, "May I call you Chisholm?" she cried afterward. I haven't seen her cry in 20 years. After hanging up, Chisholm sat in her car, processing everything. Jinwoo's kiss, his promises, his mother's tears. Change was happening so fast, almost too fast to process. But maybe that was okay. Maybe sometimes love didn't wait for perfect timing. Maybe sometimes it just happened. Messy and complicated and beautiful. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jinwoo. "Thank you for tonight. Thank you for everything. Sleep well. I'll see you and our perfect children tomorrow." Chisholm smiled, typing back, "Tomorrow. One day at a time." And for the first time in 6 years, tomorrow felt full of possibility rather than just survival.